good to see you, Adam.
You too, Richard. Man, you've helped transform my life, and I'm just so grateful.
I kind of want to check in on you and just see
Yeah.
how that's working or what's really happening or the depth of it, Because sometimes I say, and I'm so convinced about myself that you could just listen to people's words and know all about them, Sometimes I think I can know them from stem to stern just by a couple of words.
Wow.
And then sometimes it's sad that sometimes people in most distress are the ones that seem the most up and happy, right? And I realize that there is a masking function there that some people are experts at masking, or maybe it's beyond my experience or beyond me ever knowing how they pull it off.
Definitely, it's true. Yeah, I learned that when I was younger, when I had this neighbor who was always so happy and cheerful. But then I found out she was a hoarder, and she was really depressed, and she would tell my mom all these sob stories. But whenever you saw her, she was always, "Hi, how you doing?" Just so happy. And I get what you mean.
Or in a softer way, I think I was just talking with Becky, and she was saying that sometimes she doesn't know what to say, and so then she just smiles and giggles, and it's kind of like a cover-up.
A cover-up for just not knowing what to say, or feeling sad or depressed, or...
Yeah, feeling inadequate about that, and then feeling kind of somehow missing in action. Maybe I'm extending that a little bit. Maybe I'm projecting, but anyhow, we don't have to put her name to it.
Well, I think that's cool, though. If I'm not wrong, she recognizes that, though, right?
Yeah,
that she's
talking more about her. She did talk about that, but then she made a post where she said, "Oh, I guess I was being false there. I was just being phony." I should tell her, well, go ahead and be phony in the rest of your life from now on, because it's actually kind of appealing. But I mean, what is the basis of your true self, Adam? Let's just talk about you. And what is the basis of your memories of how you maybe have mistreated yourself? Or, with thoughts or deeds?
Yeah, I mean, probably several times this morning, before I started to get to an open space, a lot of self-loathing patterns came up. And over these last few months or years, I've had a lot of self-loathing and hatred. And I believe it's really important to admit when that's happening. That's not how it is at this moment right now. I actually got into a very good place a few hours before I began talking to you.
Yeah. Let's ask this before. What do you suppose holds self-loathing in place?
Well, first of all, if I knew what it was, I would let it go.
Okay, so, I did say, what do you suppose? Let's just do suppose it.
Yeah, okay. Well, certainly it has to do with some of the way I'm talking to myself, the words I'm choosing. And I think memories come up and associations come up very quickly in my head. And I latch onto them very quickly. So if I'm thinking about today, for example, if I was thinking about talking with you later, maybe an old thought would come up of me having a conversation with someone and they said I was stupid or that I was annoying. And when those old thoughts come up, there's a part of me that instantly latches onto it. There's no gap. There's no chance to see other possibilities. And I react to it. I go, oh, I hate myself. And maybe that self-loathing and self-hatred is more comfortable and easier to be with. And so it's become like a reaction of mine. Or maybe I'm trying to get myself to change. And I've learned from the collective, to change, you should hate yourself. Or I inherited that. Now I'm trying to own and take responsibility of all of that. But it's I'd like to use one of my favorite phrases these days: one step at a time.
Oh yeah. So now that was pretty bright. I think that was a good insight. You said it from the collective. You get something that says, well, you said I should hate myself, but let's just call it. If I'm stern, then the student learns better.
Right.
Right. And so then if I don't really coddle the student, and say, oh, you're okay the way you are, never mind, I should say, no, you're really bad, you're doing it again, and you got to get out of this stupidity, if I get real stern with my student, he'll learn better. We believe that, right?
Right, yeah.
And that might be an origin of now the things you said were like self-hate, the latching onto the ideas. But what might keep them in place is the belief that, going back to those ideas is actually more proficient at changing than if I ease off of them, let's say.
Yeah, well, I definitely believe being stern is important because I have the belief that in some ways I was raised too lightly. There wasn't enough rigid structure in my life. I was a butterfly, and if my parents held me too tight, I would be crushed. And I wasn't given enough structure and discipline. So maybe also I kind of overcorrect in that now, where when I feel like I might do something wrong or there's some inadequacy, I come down on myself super hard.
Yeah, that's clear. Now let's just think about it and feel into those parents, because, they really love their butterfly, right?
Yeah.
Come on, just feel it and admit it, Right?
Yeah.
Whether they had the idea you were a butterfly or you had the idea, but anyhow, they really loved and they wanted to do something different, right? Because everybody is always under some stern guidance. And they really wanted to do something different. And they said, okay, well, too bad, Adam, you're our experiment. We don't know if it'll work. But I mean, we're going to actually make these huge efforts to curb our tendency to try to mold you, right?
Right. So it didn't work when our parents did it to us. So we're going to do a different experiment.
Yeah. But I mean, even for them to come up with that experiment and stick with it long enough for you to notice, they were committed, really big time committed, right?
Yeah. God knows what happened in their past to make them want to commit to such an experiment.
Yeah. Well, now I got this idea. I call it an experiment, So then this could be radical too, I'm trying to put it on everybody, not just my kids. Really. So then that's really lucky that you fell into this, because one of the things we stress most of all is being friendly to yourself. So then that's probably very perplexing to you, right? Or it's been kind of you take it and leave it and take it, and I don't know. You think you're doing something with it, but maybe you're ignoring it, or I mean, what is? Tell me about that principle.
Well, I love it because it's so new to me. And because of my past, I don't know how long it will take me to become adept at it, but I've been able to apply it here and there for some major letting go, some major being nicer to myself in some ways has helped me break large balls and chains that were attached to my legs. And I'm in love with the principle, and I need to think more about it. And well, look, I'm gonna get started on myself. I got to work harder on it.
Remember, like being friendly to yourself is not a principle to apply or to do. All it is to notice. It's just I put up a flag there, and because that flag is there, you can notice, right? And then the whole thing is like this is an experiment, so you don't have to believe it. There's no believing in the flag, right? You just notice and say, oh, well, it's an experiment. I guess I'll go the friendly route this time. And then if I'm just trying to convince you, I'm trying to seduce you into doing that for a month or two, really.
Okay. Yeah, that's a whole new level of performing the experiment. Because I'm still very much taking certain things that you've wrote as principles. It's just the truth. And I'm sorry. But because they're working for me as principles, and
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's like, but I see under the I see in what you're writing that there is a whole new way of doing this, where you're not having a lot of meaning uh, with everything. You're well, not everything, but a lot of things.
Well, then anything.
With anything. So yeah.
I mean, it's called humility, right? It's kind of humility, like Christians and other religious people do that, but they do it by giving their knowing to God or to Jesus or to Allah, and then we're just doing it for the heck of it, We're just doing it, saying like, okay, well, I mean, just we're doing it with a logic, maybe saying like, if you really look at something's here, and we explain it, and we're hoping we get closer and closer and closer to what's really here. It seems to work almost every day for us, so it must be, and everyone agrees. But then we could just say, okay, well, probably the way we look at the world is we're looking through our lens, and so then it appears that way. So it seems to work. But I mean, somehow it's a dose of humility, right?
Mm-hmm. Now, because I have so much just love towards you and respect, I'm going to try out this experiment in that sense. But it's going to be kind of weird because it goes against my natural instinct that I feel like I found something that works. I've maybe taken what you wrote and adapted it to my own belief system. But because, I'm liking the direction of my life that's going. I like the direction that my life is going, and that's such a new thing. Maybe I don't like it all the time. I still have those pockets of self-loathing, or maybe it will be for most of a day. But believe me, that's shit. That's leagues different from where I was just a few months ago before I contacted you. And what little relief or what large amounts of relief I have, I'm just so grateful for. And I'm almost a little bit afraid to go into this meaningless thing, because maybe it's because of my non-duality background as well.
Yeah. Remember, it's not meaningless, It's just taking meaning lightly and being able to make it, because meaning is the basis of how we get along with each other, right? We have to agree that, black is black and white is white. So, but I mean, it's just about not collecting meaning and having libraries full of it, right? Being able to let it go. When? I don't know. Just approach things newly. Try every day even, Or, okay, here's how we do it. We just say that sort out meaning by the open space of good feeling. And once you build a link where, what I say, meaning, is what I feel, mood. When you sort that link out there, then you can start to sort the meanings out, because you could say, well, this one gives a tightness, so I'm going to believe that less. Put that one in the background a little bit. You can sort them out a little bit. And then this one kind of makes me actually feel good about myself, and I did something, I did a project, and it worked, and maybe someone even paid me for it. I don't know. I got a job, a little one, but whatever, And then so that's a good meaning, Keep it. Keep that meaning. So then that's just a way to sort them out, right? And we're using our metric, right? Our metric is our experimental measuring tool.
I love how you keep bringing up the measuring tool and measuring how we're doing with our method for living. I think that's just great, because I feel like having a metric with anything helps you understand the progress you're making with it, or whether it's not working, or whether it's hurting you and taking you away from where you want to be. And is this metric? So is the metric itself the open space of good feelings? Is that
Well,
the
there's
metric
more than
is?
one metric. Actually, I just wrote another chapter last night. I'll put it out. I think I'll just put it out in a big long post instead of emailing it. But anyhow, a metric is just okay. Anyone that doesn't have a metric, they're just flying by the seat of their pants, right? And then they're saying, I feel the good for this and I feel bad for that. But we already know that feelings are not trustable, right? Because they just depend on what you're
Right.
telling yourself. So if you're flying by the seat of your pants, you could be anywhere. You could be leading a devil worship cult or something like that and feeling good about it, right? Who knows? It just depends on what you're telling yourself, right? So that's not trustable. So then anyone without a metric, like a business, like family businesses, they just go by the seat of their pants and how they used to do it, right? But any kind of
Right.
business that wants to grow and understand themselves, they have to have a way to measure the results, right? A business or a science, right? And then
Right.
hopefully that business, that metric is kind of like in real time. Because how many businesses have an accountant, and everyone has an accountant, and they
Yeah.
always get their accounts, but they get them a month late. Or maybe they get them at the end of the year and say, oh, we did good that year. But during the year, they weren't able to say, hey, let's change something, right? Because they
Right.
weren't getting in the metric moment by moment by moment, right? So a
Yeah,
delayed
the
metric
quarterly.
is usually where we're at, when we do science and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
we're talking about a metric that is right, real time, right? You can just feel it every second. Boom, 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 boom. Every thought that goes through your head that you see it and are able to speak it, like, I don't know what the right word is there. I'm missing it. But, when you somehow notice your thought and you can notice the feeling that goes right with it, that's a metric, a real-time metric. So then that's pretty good.
Yeah.
For your management, we're managing actually. I guess spirituality hates that, right? But we're managing our openness, right? And there's a short term and there's a long term. And the short term is we're just managing the metric to set us on this less anxiety platform, right? Because we think we're going to be more effective. And that's the experiment. That's a long-term part of the experiment is like, what is our effectiveness factor? And long-term could be just weeks. If you say you shift, that's a long-term. The short-term is just in this moment. Can I release that reaction by restoring it and just feel a shift? And then that's important, but I mean, that's kind of a doing, right? The long-term is like if I am approaching each day a little bit more released, hey, let me take account. Gee, I've been happy for at least 5 days this week. I laugh a lot more, People actually laugh around me instead of shout at me. You start to notice other things. We don't have metrics for those. Those are subjective judgments, like your long-term results, right? That's the experiment itself, too, You could break it into those two.
Yeah. Occasionally, the footage breaks up a little bit, and my ADD gets a little bit stimulated when the camera footage is getting off track with your voice communication.
Oh, yeah. Right. There'd be so much to talk about, you and me, Really so much, especially about attention. How does attention work?
Today, I used this. I did a great experiment where I was actually feeling a bit under the weather, and my old principles would be to go into a place of panic. Oh my God, I have the plague. I'm gonna die. And I noticed I was in a contraction, and so I went into a gap, and in the gap, I saw the spark of an image, the thought that there are so many more possibilities than what I actually believe. And even though that's a meta thought, I lunged into that, and it completely just shattered the chains of fear and tension and anxiety, and I just felt such a uplifting feeling. And now talking to you, I mean, I don't feel physically sour at all. So, I don't know how much of it was in my head, but certainly my old ways of thinking would lengthen the contractions or intensify them or bring them up more frequently.
Yeah.
And one thing I love about what you write about is how you say this will become habit over time. Just the more you do it, it becomes second nature. Now already I've noticed that. Maybe it's because I had so much anxiety and pain that those few times of breaking it have kind of rewired my brain. Where when I notice it's time to go into a gap, it's generally very quick, and I find a very quick story. And if I can't find one, then I'll break into another set of tools, like I talked about in the Hangout. I'll go on a walk, and I'll give a quick prayer to whatever deities out there. Hey, I don't know what the hell to do right now. And something happens out of that place, too. And we were talking about the metrics. There's that short-term metric where we can see if we're contracted and how our words to ourselves affect our moods. And then there is that subjective long-term metric. Am I being more productive? And I don't think it's too hard to figure out whether you are being more productive. Was I able to do just 1 hour of study for the last couple of weeks because I've been so damn depressed? Or now am I finally able to do 8 hours of study so I can get through with my degree and finish it and get up? And that's I can answer yes to that for maybe the last few days, which is such a breakthrough. When you've been going in the opposite direction and downhill for so long, you really feel when you're going uphill. You can feel the shift in gravity. So I'm just happy as hell to be here to talk to you.
A couple of things let's talk about. Okay, one is like we're working on the link of like what you think is what you feel. And we're not trying to be healers, so we're not really trying to say what you think is what conditions you have. Like that actually erupt as a physical condition or some mental condition too, right? That's even beyond just a feeling, and we can acknowledge that you just did acknowledge that your stress level kind of somehow does reflect in your body, right?
Yeah.
Right. And everybody's got a different sensitivity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all our bodies are sensitive in a different way, Some of us might have a mean thought, and already we get a stomachache or something like, or a heartburn, right? And others of us probably we can actually do tons of mean things, and we don't even notice. But whatever, But we're, like we know people, of course, that all of us know people that seem to get sick on a moment's notice, right? And that their moods go up and down with or before or, at the same time. We don't even have to say cause and effect, We don't even know which causes which, or if you get sick, you have a mood. If you have a mood, you get sick. Or, maybe they're just happening together for another reason because your belief structure. I don't even know whether I have to put it out that, that maybe they arise together as one thing. But, we recognize that, right? And so then that's just to say that is already kind of like keeps you on the alert, right? If you say I'm sick, if you say I'm turned up kind of feeling under the weather today, you could kind of look around and say, well, what does that correlate with? Is my thoughts under the weather too? Or let that be a part of the experiment where we're opening our thoughts, and we think we're opening our contraction with that, but let it be that we're also opening our our health. Like my headache is gone, or like uh, that could be a part of the experiment too. Without a belief structure, just noticing what happens.
I noticed that when you say something like without a belief structure, I kind of go into that state of presence that I've been so trained to do, just like where there are no thoughts, because part of me associates no thinking, no feeling with no belief structure. And it's, something that I have to look into and try to
No, that's
understand
okay.
more of what you're saying.
No, that's totally okay. Like without a belief structure is also wonder. So when you go into wonder, you are in presence. Like unless you're trying to really hard to figure it out. Oh my God, I'm in wonder. I don't know. I'm in unknowing. I'm at risk. I'm confused. Then you start saying, "Oh, I'm confused. I don't really have my train of thought nailed down yet. I'll have to scurry for it." But if you're just at wonder and saying, "How does that feel?"
That's cool.
Yeah.
I was listening to someone talk about wonder or astonishment, and they saw something incredible, and some part of them said, "Don't get lost in astonishment." Kind of like, don't get lost in wonder. Like, still continue to be a part of this place and let it speak to you and let it talk to you. But don't get caught up in how amazing this is or what could possibly happen.
So what did you think about that?
I think that really spoke to me, because that can happen to me. I can easily get lost in astonishment or wonder at something and miss out on what that actual something is, or the information that it could convey, or the lessons that it could convey.
Okay, tell me a story about when you were lost in wonder one time, and then how long that went, and why that astonishment was overdone, or how, whatever your take is on it. See if you can come up with one.
I think the last place I was lost in wonder was a few months ago when I was meditating, and I was really in like a deep state of presence, and I kind of felt free of everything, and I was astonished that I didn't have any baggage going on or any painful thoughts or any. I wasn't identified with any painful thoughts or painful feelings at that moment. And I just thought to myself, wow, this is so amazing that I'm not identified with any pain at the moment or any thoughts. And then I started thinking, oh, whoa, I'm amazed that I'm not lost. And I started thinking about my thinking. I got lost on the idea that, oh man, I'm not identified with any pain or horrible feelings right now, and that kind of shook up my centeredness. It took me off center, and I started getting flooded with negative thoughts again, or negative feelings.
Okay, well, tell me what you mean by off-centered, and tell me what you mean by centered, right? And then what was the actual mechanism that the negativity snuck in there? Because you were saying, oh my God, I don't have any pain. And then you think, I don't know. So then you manufactured some, right?
Right, exactly.
But I mean,
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What do you mean off-centered and centered?
Well, what I mean by centered is I just felt in a place of real peace, and I wasn't feeling well, when I feel really like in pain or depressed, I think part of me feels kind of crazy, and I'm just not really. I don't feel it as alive. I don't feel as conscious, and so when I'm centered, I feel. I feel. Well, the thing is, adding more. I guess trying to explain this situation and adding words to this, it kind of makes it. I'm worried about I'm worried about adding my own thoughts about what happened now. When I'm telling you about what being centered was and what being off centered was, now my mind is just like, I feel like I'm getting too mental about it.
Okay, so you made that judgment, that's a thought, and that's actually throwing you off center, right?
Yeah.
So now we're seeing the mechanism of it. So then you have a doubt about, like, something. Okay, let's see. Let's go back to that guy that said, don't get lost in amazement.
Astonishment, yeah.
Astonishment, right? And so then how would you do that? How would you not get lost in astonishment? He's kind of saying like you would reattach to reality, right? And then try to take away what the gift of that reality is, right? What it's telling you, right?
Right.
So basically he's saying, go back to your story about it, right? However hokum that story is, just go back to your story. I mean, I don't really honor what he's saying whatsoever, but anyhow, just in case you haven't picked up on that.
Yeah.
What's he saying, really? What is the gift that something has? It's the meaning that you give it, right? And you say, oh, yeah, that meaning is there, therefore it verifies that I'm on the right track, or I'm on the wrong track, or I'm making a proper turn because I'm turning my attitudes toward this other new meaning, right?
Yeah.
And then again, don't get lost in what we're saying. What non-duality says is that meaning is always the bad guy, and you should walk around as a blank.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just saying whatever that meaning is, or whatever you're going to give it. See if, even if you could have some sparks of images, or stay in the gap longer, or things like that with jargon that you and I know what we're talking about. Maybe something new could sneak in there, right? That isn't based on yesterday's meaning. And like a brainstorm could come in and like say, maybe it could be this way. I don't know if we mentioned one already or not. But, sometimes things pop in and we can allow them their possibilities.
I just love that concept of there being new possibilities, of there being something different than what I already know.
There's a chapter on that, actually, not to say that I got everything covered, but actually I'm trying to say, because we always dismiss the past and say it's only an idea, because if we look at it, it's always only an idea. So then we can just say, well, it's got no substance. And then we dismiss it. But for some reason, it's also here because it always keeps coming up, right?
Right.
And so then I try to discover what the hooks in the past are, right? And I kind of move to how we act and where we don't act are based on our past structures, right?
Yeah.
And so then how we act and where we don't act exactly is what's creating today, see? So it creates it as a mirror image of yesterday, because we stick with our same actions and our same places where we hold our actions. I'm just saying that actions are kind of like how our life unfolds, right? Whereas the other people are saying, well, hey, you're not the doer, so don't concern yourself with actions, right? And so then you're definitely going to be repeating all the past, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Or you might have a blow up, It's not the way we really want to go. Anyhow, it doesn't deny blow-ups because even if we're the most controlled and the most rational and the most, responsible and have the greatest integrity, blow-ups still can come, right? We're not building any shields against blow-ups. We're not building any shields against blow-ups, but we're not just sitting there waiting for them either, So we're going to be doing our thing and kind of being satisfied in our own doingness, right? And then if a blow-up comes and we have an enlightenment experience and we blast off and we need to go somewhere and say, please help me, what happened? I'm unhooked from everything. Well, at least, let it be, because that's another thing that can happen. We're not trying to deny anything.
I feel like I could just listen to you speak for hours because I agree with so much of what you're saying.
Yeah, but okay, like the whole thing I'm saying is like I'm always I'm trying to seduce you, right? Not only into listening but into doing, right? It's all a seduction into let's all get off our butts, and have fun, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I think you're doing it, but and then some people, I don't know what, that when I do that, or if I get more heavy into it, they'll take it as a blame that I'm not doing it fast enough, or they'll take it as their own dissatisfaction that I must be showing them in some way that they're not good enough. But farthest from that, I mean, that's not it at all. But
yeah.
Okay, let me ask you a question now. We'll shift gears, huh? We'll shift gears. How are you deflecting this? How are you deflecting this experiment? How are you holding it down? How are you holding it back? Where do you make an excuse that you don't need to go into that? I mean, just check it out.
Yeah. Well, the best way to explore these deflections is to be as honest as possible. Which is hard. Like, I don't want to have to admit to the group, but I will. Because, it is hard because I have the ideas on the tip of my tongue right now and I want to say them, but I need to give myself a little bit of space for a second because I don't know why it's so hard sometimes to well, I probably do know why it's so hard to admit where we're holding ourselves back. And you already know I'm very stern, so I'm doubly hard on myself. But one part where I've been holding myself back with the experiment, well, actually, I'll start with this first, is that what I've done of the experiment so far, as I mentioned earlier on, is that it's working. And what space it's opened up in my life, I just go into that space. Since I've been able to study my schoolwork for the first time in months due to the experiment, I've gone 120 million% into the schoolwork, which means I haven't been going deeper and deeper into the experiment with what allocated time and energy I have a day. I'll put into schoolwork and I'll put a little bit of energy into the experiment because I already found parts that work. So I think one of my deflections is that once I find something that works, I'll just take it and run with it instead of finishing the job with it or going deeper into it. And it's something I'm aware of and I'm working on. But, there are certain parts about the experiment that I haven't got. And that's simply because I haven't put the time and energy and effort into it. There are, like, for example, the parts about having as little meaning as possible. The contrarian in me will come up and be like, well, this story gives me meaning, and it's empowering. And I want to be honest with that part of me that comes up, and that takes time to kind of write everything out, do some analysis, and and also give myself the permission to really let go of some of those meanings that I think are empowering me that might actually be limiting me.
Yeah. So then the whole thing about meaning is just an experiment also, right? That's the great part about calling this an experiment, because I'm not saying have as little meanings as possible. I'm not saying that at all. And that's a way to deflect it, because then you'll say, well, these meanings are good, so I can't do what he says. But I'm not saying that. So then if you take on that idea that the experiment's all about having as little meanings as possible, mostly it's about sorting meanings out with the tightness they produce, right? And then, not holding on to one in the face of it's not working. And then you said, okay, well, I don't even know if this meaning is limiting me or empowering me. So then that's part of the experiment, right? You can have to look into one. Or the first thing you said, no way, this experiment has more priority than your life. This experiment is in support of your life. So then if you take the ball and run with your life, fantastic, right? And then the experiment is there, right? You've got all the text, you've got everything. When you get, you can call me up or whatever when you get stuck, or you want to, or somehow it seems like it's time to move forward even more. But I mean, there's nothing, you don't really have to write it all down and stuff to figure out the whole sequence, like, what it's all about. The short-term goals are to release, and the long-term goals are to approach your homework more open and able to do it, right? And then see what happens out of that, right? And you get a good grade. You get a good grade, right?
Yeah.
And then everybody says, oh my God, you finished a lot of stuff, and are you less tired or what? That's another metric, because we talked about the actual physical, the possibility that our physical symptoms might shift with more open explanations, right? And so then that's another metric you have, because you have the tiredness that comes over you.
Right. And I've been measuring more hours of energy each day.
So that's great.
Yeah. Because it wears away at you when you're giving meaning to things that are painful, when you're giving meaning to beliefs that make you tired. I mean, if you give meaning to certain thoughts, feelings will rise that are linked to those thoughts, and those feelings are going to wear you out. If you have some thought that I'm a sick person, you're going to feel horrible, and it's going to drain you. And if you can recognize that and tell yourself a nicer story, it's just tremendously more freeing. And
let me rephrase that a little and see if you like it. I'll rephrase that a little and see if you like it. Because you said that, when you have anxious thoughts, it wears you out, right? And that as if thinking those anxious thoughts is more wearing than thinking happy thoughts. But, I go like this, right? And I tell myself a story and it produces a contraction, right?
Right.
But also I tell myself a story and it produces an energy level, right?
Right.
If you had your favorite rock star was in town and I said, you got 2 free tickets, you might be saying, I'm tired, I got a headache. And I say, wait a minute. Guess what? That guy you love so much. I got these tickets. Boom, your headache was gone, your energy is up, man, I'm going to this concert. And so then that's just a part of our mechanism. Like what we don't like gives us less energy. Some people are more sensitive to it, right? until you are very sensitive to it. When you doing what you don't like or what you don't, or somehow turns you right off, you could just almost have a switch and just go to sleep, right?
Yeah.
So that's another part of the beauty of our metric. It's another metric, right? It's just another beautiful thing, right, to notice. And someone else's metric might be their sickness, you know. They'll get a rash or something like that, you know. Maybe their skin will flare up, or who knows what'll happen when they start to feel in certain ways. Or, you know, an ulcer, or, you know, they'll get digestion problems, or, you know, people are very sensitive. Some are. That's just another metric that's even better. I say just use that metric to keep yourself in the open space.
Yeah. Those people are lucky and in a way if they can take advantage of that and use it to notice when they're contracted.
Yeah, not just the contraction, but they can go with their symptoms. They can go with their tiredness level. These are all metrics, right? And if you're just grumpy about them and say, "Oh, I'm so tired. I got a syndrome," and they actually labeled it for me, and then you can think you got some kind of disease or something, and you got to take medication or do whatever they tell you, right? Or just have a long recovery period, right? It'll take a long recovery period, and so then you just set yourself for a long time in bed, you know, or not going out of your room or something like that. And then you resign yourself to that, you know. Okay, well, I don't know. I'm not here to deny all medicine and deny all doctors and deny everybody's ideas about how the body works, right? I'm not here for that, but I'm just here to experiment, right?
Yeah, and it'd be great if some people who were diagnosed with this syndrome and they were taking pills, I was going to say vitamins, if they would do experiment and change the way that they speak to themselves and see if something different would happen.
Yeah. Well, you're the beta test.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about this. You know, let's say this. You know, because like the modern day and age, we seem to have a lot of needs. We work out of neediness, right? And we don't really work out of joy or work out of like passion, or we don't really. So many of us don't even know what is it that we like. And then when we're in school, like, and they ask us, what are you going to be? You know, a fireman or an aviator or what? You know, we really don't know. If anything, we're choosing the less of two evils, right? Or like what everyone says, be an engineer, or I want to be an artist. No, don't be a dancer. You can't make any money doing that. You know, so then we don't even have a passion or really know what we want because we run our whole lives out of neediness and urgency, right? And it gets worse when we get older, or it could, right? Especially when we have kids and a family, and you know, the rent is, we're living in a place that we can hardly afford, and all that stuff. And so then everything we set up for ourselves to do, we don't really like it. It's just one more neediness, right?
Yeah.
So then we get, instead of passion and joy and doing things, we have what we call resistance, right? And procrastination, right? All that stuff has to do with like, I don't like what I'm doing anyhow. I don't like. I got this whole list. I've got this whole to-do list, and so then resistance, procrastination, all those things come with that to-do list because it's a foreign to-do list, right? I got suckered into it, convinced. Circumstances shoved me in there. Something happened, right? How did I do it? How did it ever happen that I'm doing all the stuff I hate, right? And then how many people's lives are just like run like that, right? I'm sorry for them. I have compassion for them. You know, I'm not blaming them or nothing. You know, and whatever it is, I'm not even personalizing it. I'm just saying our collective society somehow feels that the same thing you said. Sternness gets you farther, right? Sternness. In other words, choosing things that you don't like get you farther than choosing the things you like, right?
Yeah.
So then, if you can spend 6 hours on your homework, you like it.
Well, just I might not like. There's certain parts I like about it, but it's hard work. But I know that I believe the end the ends will justify the means. That I'm going to be able to get a job. I'm not going to have to worry about feeding myself or living in a spot. But it's all in a field that I do like. So I have trouble relating, but I do understand the people we're talking about who are all working jobs they hate or are doing things they aren't passionate about because they ended up with a family and a rent and two cars that they have to pay for.
Yeah. They don't even hate it because then, whether if they're non-dualists, they say they have to accept it, right? And they get themselves to believe they accept it. But if they're just practical people, they don't put all that energy onto hate. But in other words, there's really no love for it either, And they would leave it in a second if something else came. But but they're afraid to leave it, to try something else because it seems like to take that step to something that might be more pleasing. Maybe there's a pay cut or something, or
Yeah, a lot of people I know who aren't into non-duality. They're into like drugs or alcohol or antidepressants. So that's like another way they cope with being in a situation that they don't enjoy.
Yeah. So then you used to hang with that crowd, right?
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. Painful memories.
Yeah, painful memories. Is there anything you want to say about that? I mean, I'm not asking for the greatest confession in the world, but you might have some experience, right? That's valuable, right? And somehow you left. I don't know whether you just left because of you just totally were disintegrating,
Yeah, I hit rock bottom. It's that famous saying, you're ready for recovery when you hit rock bottom. And I ended up in the hospital with a lung infection. I couldn't breathe. I felt like if I was going to continue my lifestyle of smoking tons and tons and tons of pot with my own underlying health conditions, I would wind up dead. And I just did not want to die. And I didn't have anything to help me. I didn't have any belief system. I didn't have the open space of good feelings. I didn't have a field of possibilities. But I had the will to find something different, and I found you. So I'm thankful to whatever the source is for this happening.
Was that recent? Is that recent when you were in that hospital and all?
108 days ago.
Oh my, you got good track.
Well, yeah. I have an online. I'm part of an online support group where we all get little badges that keep track of when we quit everything. Oh, yeah. So I've been vice free for 107 days. And, man, things feel way, way better. I mean, they're only starting to now, though. And I think I only got here and made it this far because of your teachings, because of what you're writing about. And I've listened to other similar teachers like Anthony Robbins, who was a student of Ernest Earhart. And, but Anthony Robbins and Sean Stevenson and Eckhart Tolle and whoever else that I might not want to say at this moment. They never they never focused on the relationship between our thoughts and our feelings and the gap and how our thoughts and feelings cause us to contract, but really they never looked at the simple alternative. What you've been teaching, like in essence, is just to be nicer to yourself, and that's such a simple thing. But why hasn't it been around before? Why didn't I know about this until now? Well, I love one part of your writing, how you write about these marginal belief systems throughout the thousands of years of human history. We've had different sects and different religions and different groups, but they've all had such a minor impact on humanity as a whole. And which makes you wonder what's going to happen with this. But I feel like I have two thoughts on that. One is that it does take a long, long, long time for humanity to change, and you need and things kind of learn from the previous generation and the previous generation, even though it doesn't look like it. Culture is evolving like a life form, and a life form started with a few cells and then went to many cells, and through all these evolutions and changes, eventually you get life in its current form. And we've had all our teachings start from such a primitive foundation, and now it's kind of grew into this new teaching, this new form, which is just be simple to yourself. But within this, I feel like we had to go through everything else, because in your overall teaching, you do use many facets of the marginal belief systems. Like going into a gap, I think is very much like, and you talk about it, is very much like being present. But we don't just stop there and try to get rid of all the thoughts. From that place of presence, we look for the sparks of the images and find one that's going to empower us or that we want for some reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we just have choice, We notice that choice is more than one. Because if we, if we work out of neediness and urgency, then usually whatever pops in our head, we're on it, maybe. Because we're, just like, because we're stern with ourselves and we say, hey, get with it, Oh, there's a thing, you can ride it.
Yeah.
Go. Don't wait, don't hesitate. And so then there's never a choice, right? Because that's the simplest formula. Like, a choice takes options. If you don't have any options, there's no choice. You just do the first thing. So then choice means pause, because you have to wait till the options come in, right? They come in at their own rate.
Yeah.
It's simple. Well, okay, now let's look. Okay, you just told a big long story, right? From cells dividing and this, that, and the other, and then old teachers. And then I'll even throw in a few of my little crooks there, like our elders admonishing us, and then our spiritual teachings and our scriptures admonishing us, and then our masters admonishing us, and then our modern day teachers. In a way, they're admonishing us because they're telling us what to do, right?
Yes.
And all that admonishment somehow, in the old system, right, adds up to, then I get to be a master, right? All that admonishment works, right? But show me where it works. I've never seen it work, Show me. I don't believe it. So then, whether this is different or new, of course, I claim it's like really quite radical now. Radical just means it's unhooked from what's before, right? Okay, I say gap and presence, and that's just part of it, Like, part of life is being here, and another part of it is thinking about it, right?
Right.
And so then, if you want to consider both those parts, you got to say, okay, there's the thoughts about it, and here's the being here. That's the gap, okay, right? And so then it's not like I'm trying to copy anyone, or I need a little bit of all these spiritual teachings to put it together, and then, basically I'm saying, I don't know what.
Or or at least all those old spiritual teachings let you know what doesn't work. This is another step in trying to find out what does work, what will bring peace to yourself and humanity.
I don't know about that either. So, but anyhow, let's just go, like, where I want to go is just say, you told a story, right? Now that story is going to have an effect on you. In a way, it opens you up, because you say, okay, well, it took all this stuff. I don't have to reject anything. And then here we are here. Let's just kind of look into this and keep our attention here. And then that's a really good reason to have a story like that, But if a story like that drags our attention away and says, hey, maybe we ought to look into a few. I think numerology, we ought to look more into that, because there's the magic square here, the golden mean. This is probably the golden mean here. Maybe if I do more golden mean stuff, where things will work better, because that's, and then we can make a meaning out of it, right? And we say, oh, yeah, that's holy, or that shows up everywhere in the in manifest world. So then, if I cut my cake in a certain ratio, it'll be a better tasting slice, right? Then I would say it's kind of like a wrong-headed way to use the past or tell the story about that, really. And in the end, I don't even think you need the story, right? If you need it, you need it. If you don't, you don't. But really, we judge every story by the OSFGF, right? And so then, is that story helpful or hindering, or just doesn't matter, really? Doesn't do anything, right? So then, here, I'll give you another metric now, okay? How about this thing? First, I'll just say, just me here now. It's very simple, right? There's no extra me. There's no me, the big me, and the big self, and the little self, and there's just me, right? Whatever that appears as for you. For you, it's different than me, right?
Yeah.
And for someone else, it's third way, you know. And so we're not trying to say, "Oh, take my way." No, just me is like just you, right? Just me here now. See, now your attention is on that. What's happening here? Or it's off that on some principle, right? Which might be an ancient principle or a scripture, or how that things relate, you know, or how my memories relate to this. I can say, oh, look, the pattern here looks like the one I got up in here. And then our attention is actually, so then just me here now, attention is like energy, you know, and feeling. It's flowing in or it's flowing out, right?
Right.
And no matter what we're doing, if we have attention with it, it's going to work better, right?
Yeah.
Is that going to be a big jump to say that, or is that too much of an assumption, or what?
No, it's almost so obvious it's hard to prove. You
It's
know,
heartbreaking, right? It's so obvious.
Yeah.
So then, every story you tell yourself is focusing your energy in or out, right? And then you really start to know. You navigate by that period, you know. Oh, you'll play around and go out there a little bit, but you're not going to get lost and go spinning out, you know. If that thing doesn't take me back here, then what's the use of it, right? And even non-duality, in a way, you're meditating. You've got to be right here. You got a lot of thoughts. You're telling yourself you shouldn't have them. But I mean, it doesn't really take you here. It takes you to your divine self. Feel your divine light. You know, feel the glow on yourself. Feel the kundalini rising. I don't know. Feel your chakras. Feel your cleanness. Feel your metta. Even Buddhism. You know, metta is the love of humanity that you project, but you're kind of like projecting it as an image that you're creating, right? That's okay too.
Right.
Just like a prayer, right? There's nothing wrong with a prayer, and they're great. You know, you can have a prayer that says "guide me," and you can have another prayer that says let all sentient beings love the world they're in, you know, and each other. That's another kind of a prayer, right? But they're all good.
Yeah, that'll affect how you feel.
Yeah, there's stories, and stories either bring your energy in or they take it out, right? And then that's an ultimate judge. You could just know that you can go out for a while, but it's not going to really help anything in the end, unless it comes back toward you somehow. Now, what we're doing comes back toward you big time, right? Because like we don't have any principles. We're just saying all our only principle is like go to the gap, check out your options for this moment, choose a friendly one, feel a release if you happen to be tight and in reaction. Work on that and see how you can release it, and then approach each day that way. And we don't give any 365 affirmations to concentrate on one a day. Maybe they would work. I don't even know, you know, but we're not giving them.
Unless someone thought that might help them out and empower them, then they could do it if that's one of the possibilities they want to do.
They can use our metrics and run the experiment. I'm sure they'll get some open space of good feeling with good affirmations, right?
Right.
So we're not prohibiting them. We're just saying don't get hooked to them, because if you run out on the 366th day, what do? You come up with a blank, right?
Yeah.
No, I
Start
guess
over. You know?
I'm poking fun too much, right? Yeah. So then, how much do you cover up? Are you hiding from yourself? Are you hiding from the parents? Are you hiding from your friends? Are you hiding from me? You know, or is there no such thing as hiding? Maybe there isn't. It's just like you can be this way and you can be that way too. But if you say no, no, I'm really that way and I'm pretending to be this way, then you think you're hiding.
Mm. Well, that to me, that's such an. I have a hard time dealing with that concept because I like to be so. I try to be as authentic as I can be, and if I'm not, it's unconscious. And it's not like I'm a shrewd businessman who has some type of front, and I want you to believe this when my intentions are something else, and I'm conscious of those intentions. And if I was trying to hide from you, I wouldn't have joined up for this hangout.
Yeah.
I'd get to the goal as directly as I could. Nope, sorry, I'm feeling sick. I'm busy. Maybe that would that would be kind of hiding though.
No, but classic hiders are ones that want to take their own life, and so that's a shrewd businessman there.
Take their own life.
Yeah, because they hide that. If anyone's ever felt suicidal, that's where they turn into shrewd businessmen because they mask that totally. Right? Everything is beautiful, and I'm the happiest person alive. Tomorrow I turn up dead, right? And say, "Oops."
Yeah. I don't know. I ran into someone who was suicidal last night on a message board, and they were saying, November 5th, I'm going to kill myself once all my job applications come in, and I'm sure I'm going to be declined. And this person was very upfront, and to me, it was like a call for help. Can someone help me?
Definitely. Would you be any good at answering that call?
I thought about it this morning, whether or not I should have asked you, or maybe just sent them a paragraph or two from your book. But I did message them, and I said something helpful, like just as much as I could, and it was beautiful. He had an outpouring of support from a large number of people, all trying to help this person. And I think it is kind of sad. It is sad when you see a member of our tribe, another human, in so much despair, and they're resigned. They don't see an end to their suffering. There's no possibilities for them. They're in a contraction, and they have no way out of it. And I was even, I was thinking in the shower about this guy this morning, like maybe I should just tell Richard about this. But then I thought, man, like there's a million people like this who need help. I don't want to overwhelm Richard. And what can one do? It's a prickly scenario because there's actually a whole forum dedicated to people who are on suicide watch. I'm on this forum called Reddit. Have you heard of Reddit? It's one of the most popular forums for young people these days. And there's a sub-forum dedicated to people who are on suicide watch. Many of them are crazy and they're just plagued by suicidal thoughts and feelings. And this forum's for them to talk with people who want to help them and find hotlines and get help. And then other people are pretty lucid, but they're so depressed and they want to, off themselves. And there's a whole, and I think as I become more secure and stronger, I'm going to start hanging out there more and just give some time each day just to try to help a few people and put that energy out there. And,
Yeah. Maybe you'd be way better at it than me. Like if you have faced those things, I I never really had an idea. I think a long time ago I had some ideas of hurting myself, and then right in the middle of them too, during over a couple of month period, I realized, oh my God, every idea that passes through my head is now me, and then that was a huge breakthrough because I realized that the collective or just thoughts pass through, and you don't have to say, okay, because it's in my head, it must be me, and then I must be serious about this.
Do you remember how old you were around that time? I'm interested in how healthy your ego was.
25.
At that 25.
I was 25. I was in the Army, and I was in a laboratory. Actually was during Vietnam, but I didn't have to go to Vietnam. And I was in a laboratory in Maryland. And then sometimes I had to go from our little laboratory to headquarters building that was in our little, I won't get too detailed on it. And the easiest way in the winter was to walk through a shop, And in this shop, they had like a 10 or 12-inch circular saw. And a lot of times they left it going.
Oh, wow.
You know how a big saw has a sound? Whee! It's like a bell, right?
Right.
And I used to go through there and I would just think about like, oh, ring that bell. And like as if I had a stick or something, I would hit it. This big blade that was whirring, right? And then I had these dreams like, oh, I wasn't hitting it with a stick, that was my finger. Whang! It flew off.
Mm-hmm.
And then my hand went off, and then when I went through there, I started to hug the side of the wall because I didn't trust these crazy ideas maybe are real, right?
Right.
And it got worse and worse, until I was, having the thing, I was just making love with the thing, and it was gutting me. And I had these crazy thoughts, but they weren't mine at all, And when I realized that, I was totally free from a lot of stupid thoughts forever, I was only 25 then. No, I was 22. Are you kidding?
Whoa.
Yeah, I just had, and it just was because of a bell. It wasn't really any kind of like morbid thought or anything like that.
Yeah, you just wanted to ring the saw with your body.
Yeah, right. It got into that, So and it did get into a place where I used to hug the walls when I'd walk by it and stay away from the middle.
But once you had that realization that it was an collective thought, did you still hug the walls out of
No problem whatsoever. I realized that's not me. Are you kidding?
Man, that's cool. That's so powerful that I'm looking forward to understanding more of my thoughts that are from the collective and not who I am, so I can
okay, Adam, let's just say it. Let's just say it. All of them. All of them are the collective, right? And then some of them, they surfaced in your family, right? The collective. And then some of them surfaced more in your childhood and part of your child rearing. And the ones that pop out the most, you acted on. And then those became like, oh, my personality, my guilt, my blame, my not good enoughness, or my love for my parents, my trying to do what they say so I can get more love or whatever. All those things happen. But, it's all just a collective dance. We're just that's the stack, And when I say the stack, I mean there's nothing that's outside of the stack. And then it's just a real healthy way to look at it. And then you accept the collective. You don't have to sort through it and say, no, this part is me and I'm good, and that part is like, yeah, that's my programming. That's bad, I don't want to be a puppet. You are a puppet, right? All the stuff that we run the world with is just our arbitrary collective agreement of this is what, this is our descriptors that we put onto this marvelous thing that we don't know what the heck it is, right? The wonder and the, right? So then why not? Just say it's all. And then what can happen from there is that you can just accept everything as your challenge, right? That you take it. And then you'll open your eyes to every possible thing you can open your eyes to, right? And then that's your contribution to the collective. You sort out your little piece of it, right? And then you sort out the piece that your parents handed you that was garbled, and you sort out the piece that your grandparents handed to your parents, and they sorted a bunch too. So then, and then what you can't sort, you'll give to your kids or something, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of like that's how it works, right? So why not just look at it like that? It's just another story, but it's a story that just brings you to total acceptance.
Well, I can accept that all my thoughts are part of the collective. I don't care where they came from. But there are some thoughts that then from the collective that I want to see that are habitual and that don't suit me, that aren't empowering, like the violent thoughts you had about killing yourself, and certainly some of my thoughts about self-loathing are just part of the collective right now, especially for this young generation. They call us our generation, the lost generation. I mean, that's like a collective title for our generation, and I have to deal with that, and recognize that, find my own power in that, and it doesn't help for me to see myself as a lost person. To me, that's just a very disempowering thought.
Well, or otherwise you could just say everyone's lost. And then that's when I say sort it out. Sorting out is finding little by little, finding, right? And finding is the only way to find is to be here and look, right? And most of us try to find by letting someone else tell us and searching for the experts and searching for more teachings and trying to synthesize our own special teaching by cherry picking this one and this one and this one. Oh, this one seems to fit good in there, and then we'll build our own little model, like I did that for years, and I guess all the Never Not Here was in a way like that, Part of it was like that. I was cherry picking all these, or listening to everybody and seeing, well, what makes sense there. And
none of it rang a bell with you.
I don't know. All of it did, and then none of it. In the end, I got that metric of coming toward me and going away from me, right? Which you can call that energy, but then I don't like people to get hung up on energy either. It's just attention. Because if we don't have attention, if we don't have a certain kind of a fear or a certain kind of a hate, then what grates one person doesn't grate us. Because okay, someone will say it's so hot. I can't stand the heat, right? Oh man, it's really hot in Chiang Mai. I love it. I got another story, right? I love this heat.
Yeah.
I love to sweat, right? So then that's just another story, but I don't know. Does that connect to what we were saying or not? I'm just going crazy.
Yeah, probably a little crazy at the end, but it was good going for a while.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you're good, and then I want to make sure, okay, the other part is that we own what happens here and don't deny it, because we're so used to kind of like, well, I think if you watch the videos, you'll see that most everybody got something, and then in a way, they said it couldn't be true. So then that came through with another story or a denial, or like things that won't last, or like things are the same, really. Or, that was one, some have even said that wasn't my true self, I was faking it. Which means, what does that mean? How could you fake it? You did it, right? So then just put your attention over there and keep faking it. Or however you want to explain it,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I don't have to be the ringleader in this and figure all that out. But I really loved what you said just a few minutes ago, how it's about finding your own, you're not looking for the answer in a guru or you're not looking for the master to tell you what your reality is, but you're really examining your own reality. And I think that's such a powerful part of this experiment, is that it's that we're looking within, and we're not calling up other people. I'm not calling you up every time I have a contraction and be like, Richard, what possibility should I go into?
Yeah, what's my story for this one?
Yeah.
Right.
But to go into
Remember,
the gap
it's
and
not
cut our hearts.
categorical. Remember, it's not categorical because all those gurus, all your teachings, everything you know is inside of you, right? And even that's the part that, however it got in there, we call it the collective. Maybe it got in there through someone's voice or someone's written word or book or something. But however it got in there, it's in there, and then we're going to try to learn to just trust it spontaneously as whatever pops in the gap, right?
Hmm.
And then, yeah, because, okay, I was writing last night, I think. Because I was saying, okay, choice is two things. You got to have at least two options, right? But people are thinking they got tons of options, and they're actually got overactive minds sorting through everything. But those aren't options, those are reasons. The reasons are all the borrowed stuff. So then you sort through the reasons, and then you need a reason to choose which reason to choose, and then that's kind of like overactive mind is not what you find in the gap. So then, if you're in the gap, you're not going to be fussing with reasons. You're only going to be looking at what could be intuition, right? Like what's yours. And sure, it's all mixed up in a big pot, what other people say and what you kind of want to do or move toward, right? And then since it's all mixed up, you can't really, it's not a pure experiment, because even I say leave all your teachings at the door, but of course you don't, right? So then it is still mixed up in our experiment, but we just proceed with the intention that it's going to work. So it's not categorical that you drop everything and only go inside, right? But you just have an intention that you're going to find intuition and leave reasons, right? Another place I think I'm starting to say where you consult the reasons when you make a choice, but then you choose because you want to choose, just be out of a pure creative act, out of nothing. So then you're not saying I did this because of that reason, because later the reasons will change. Then you'll have to change what you want to do, and you'll have all kinds of doubts pop in. But if you just say, look, I'm on this course, especially when we say experiment, because then it's all temporary. You can say, I'm going to do this for a couple of weeks. Oh, yeah, it was good. I'll do it for a couple more. You don't have to be a true believer, right?
Right.
That's kind of things I have to overcome, because I see everybody really have great insights, and then I see them back off of them. And then I think, oh, shit. What did I do wrong, or how could I, keep them on there, but I can't, right? So then, I don't know. It just has to go the way it goes, right? And then I will just say enough of this poison of being here is enough that somehow that you're never going to be the same. Maybe I'm dissatisfied a lot or something, or like I'm saying, I'm dissatisfied in myself too. Like I didn't explain it well enough, or like this guy got a shift, and I even explained that I'm not trying to make a shift for you to have my shift. You're supposed to just realize that when you get a feeling out of changing a story, then you realize that you can do it yourself. And then you always have that power to change a story and change your feeling and move into openness. So then I try to be really clear on that, so that you're not thinking, oh yeah, let's call Richard and get some good stories, and they might last for a week or two, and then I'll reverse them.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I think you're a goner. Thanks so much for sticking with this and giving it a try, because it's very meaningful for me when what works for me works for another. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not trying to prove it to myself. I think I've proved it really big time to myself. And it feels like it's just pouring over because it's got it, and then we're calling even this experiment an experiment, right? To see if anyone else can really be touched by it. So then, when somebody like you is, then it feels really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So keep it up.
Yeah. Well, man.
Yeah.
You too, Richard. You know, you're overflowing with wisdom, so you better fill up some other glasses and pass it around. You don't want to waste it.
I'll write another chapter. And I'll use a chapter as a class. Anyhow, I'll shoot some more writing out, I think, and then I don't know. I try to be clear, and it's so helpful. What everybody says, it somehow makes a whole new writing come out. And
yeah, certainly the later writing is like this chapter 8 was so much more clear than the first 3 chapters, which were a lot more abstract. Or maybe it's just I got used to the.
Yeah, I wrote another first chapter too. You know, I called it "Connecting the Dots." You know, so now all the chapters have slid one number down. You know, and then I jammed another one in there just the other day, just yesterday actually. So anyhow, it's coming really good for me. So, do you have any other questions or anything you want to add?
Probably a bunch of questions, but about other stuff like, you know, when are you going to release the book? When does the world get to know about this experiment?
I don't know. You know, I have to feel like it's really. I feel it's big enough that I should really take care with it. You know, and not just shoot it out there. And whether that means doing another group like this with some other people and really keep after it again and again and try to make it so that understanding happens easier, or, you know, I don't know, you know, like I got all my own concerns too, even about our group, you know, because like it's been a lot of days where there's not a whole lot of sharing going on. And I think these videos have kind of, I don't even know if I dare say throwing people for a loop, or maybe just seeing themselves was too much, you know, or I don't know what. So then I start to feel like, oh my God, how am I going to get energy back into this thing? Or is it over, or what's going on? So then I have all my own fears and worries too, so don't feel like a Lone Ranger.
Well, yeah, well, you have a devotee in me now, even over, so I wish once I get through this book, you know, I want to email you and be like, well, can I maybe try to run my own group?
No, absolutely. No, I thought that would be the whole thing of it, that 16 people would be my franchisees. You know, for certain, you know, you would be great in the lost generation, right?
Right.
And I would show up too. I would make some guest appearances, definitely.
Right.
You know, organizing it, you know, and then I don't know. You just follow your energy and see if it gives you energy, right? Because if it really gives you energy, you probably won't sleep at all, you know. 6 hours a night will be plenty.
Woohoo!
You'll be chugging away. So anyhow, we'll see. Let's just keep close touch. Who knows? Someday I'll come to California.
Cool.
All right. Is that it for now?
Yep, I guess.
All right. Have a great evening.
All right. Goodbye for now.
Lots of love, Adam. Lots of love.
You too, Richard. Lots of love. Sending it right back at you. You deserve it.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay.